Hello, welcome back to the Three Orcs channel. Tonight I'm going to talk about my Greyhawk campaign on the world Anvil. I went ahead and I used the Anna Myers map, as you can see on the screen here. I put up some articles on my Patreon. I used the lands of Asbury as part of my Greyhawk campaign for the Temple of Elemental Evil. As I explained in other videos before, link below, that the Temple of Elemental Evil does not exist in a vacuum. So I build up the area around it, including a Verbabank, for the players to adventure in, start a new campaign, and get involved with the local problems in the area, like banditry and some of the gnome problems in the Crown Hills. So sometimes the nobles will request aid from adventurers, and they'll seek out adventurers to take care of matters of interest to them. And one of the nobles in a Living Greyhawk module that was presented at a convention back in early 2001, was an adventure that brought them into the service of House Asbury, and they sent them on a quest across the Viscounty into the swamps to take care of some things that they needed. I don't want to spoil the adventure, but if you happen to get a copy of it, you can run it in your campaign, and you can actually run it for a new group that are about to start the Temple of Elemental Evil campaign before they get to the village of Hamlet. So let me show you here. If you go to rgbgeek.com, you'll see that this is the module I was referring to. You can see that it was written for D&D 3.5, and if we scroll down, the designer was Rick Bruner, and the year published was 2001. This module is not available. You would have to have run this at a convention to get your hands on it. But if you do happen to have it, then it's a great intro to a campaign in the area, and I highly recommend it. Of course, I'm not able to share it, but I can show you what it was by this website. So what I did was in World Anvil is I added it to my world. And so if we scroll in to the Verbabank area, we zoom in to Verbabank, which is the capital is right here. And House Asbury, the lands of House Asbury are somewhere to the south, around Penwick, before you get to the Hamlet, the village of Hamlet. And I usually have my adventurers start off in Verbabank and work their way south. So one of my first adventures is to get them involved with some of the local politics, so that way they get a feel for the campaign world. And I think this is an excellent adventure for that. But unfortunately, that module, and plus many others, they don't have a lot of detail about where exactly everything is, and so you have to go through them and try to figure out, compare them to see where everything went. So I went ahead and I made this. This is my editing screen for World Anvil here. So the purple area, I decided that area would be for Lord Millennius, House Millennius, and I put Griffin Manor just outside of Penwick, and he's instrumental in the adventure as well. So I like to get him involved. And then south in the yellow zone is House Asbury. Originally, based on Noble Ambitions, the first module, I put the lands of House Asbury, Penwick and House Asbury. And so I drew a line right dividing this purple area in half. And so in my campaign world on World Anvil, I have my introduction, and I had the Battle of Emery Meadows that I produced. It's on the front page. You can listen to it. It's my theme song for the campaign. And scroll down past all these towns and cities that I have. Every detail on that map is completely detailed out, and totally keyed and detailed out. So let's go to Asbury Manor. I created Asbury Manor based on a compilation of a lot of PDFs I put together using various sources to fit what should be the lands of House Asbury. Some information I wrote to fit the campaign. Some information from the PDFs of a product I got off RPG Now called Barony. Another one is Fortified Manor, which is that picture right there. and which I put in the credits, and of course the Living Greyhawk module that I'm running. I got some information from that because in that module it does not fill out this manor at all or the lands. So I decided to create it for my campaign. So as you know, this is a fan creation project only used in my personal campaign for my players to enjoy. So I'm only sharing this material to encourage ideas to run the Temple of Elemental Evil campaign. So the old fortified house of Havenblast, art's by Richard Luschek. Is that picture right there? And I went ahead and got the Barony PDF that I grabbed. In the Barony PDF, I grabbed the artwork, the maps for that to comprise the floors. So it has a ground floor with a ceremonial banquet area, which I had a lot of role playing in with the Baroness herself before and after the adventure. Then you got the second floor where the players would stay for the night, and then you got the rooftops, and then then you have the attics, and then you have the rooftops, and then of course you have the basement. The players didn't spend too much time here. There's a lot of role playing during the banquets before and after the adventure. I created this based on the House Asbury description. I created this Heldry device using an app that I found on Fantasy Name Generator, which is awesome. It's not too detailed, but it works. So I described every room. Most of this is just generic medieval descriptions of typical rooms of the age for realism, so I know what those rooms are for. These aren't really D&D descriptions or keyed mods or anything like that, but they're actually legitimate medieval descriptions of a manor such as this I got from that module that I bought. And so it helps me role play if I need to get into a room and know what it's for or what's in there. I can role play from that basic information. I created some NPCs from scratch. I created a Chamberlain, Sir Thomas Hadley and Clegg Hallgard, his squire. We got the Sage Vigo that I created because I have him interrogating a madman based on the adventure. So that's a whole role-playing scene that I had to play out, and so I had to create a stage for that. And then we have an ostler that I put in there. And then I added a priest of Rayo for role-playing purposes. I figured the house priest would be most likely a priest of Rayo, considering that most nobles in this country worships Rayo. And I added a personality and a history, of course. And then I keyed every single location as well. So we have Asbury Meadows, which describes the meadows and the history. We got a church. We have a mill. It's just a description of the mill and who lives there and their kids. And then I put in a Salter, location number 5. And then we have a wood yard. Some generic artwork in there. And a woodward. And a herder. With his sons and cousins. And I tried to detail as much as I could, kind of like the Village of Hamlet. And then we have the Baroness. I have just an article on her, and another separate article about House Asbury as an organization, and then all the characters that live there and the NPCs. So this map right here, let's see if I can't bring it up. There we go. So this is by Thomas Shook. I thought it was good enough. This map fits the manor. I thought it was perfect because you got the manor here, and then you have the surrounding countryside of a small town that supports the manor, and of course you have in the barony it describes how a lord would have own their own fiefs. Their fiefdom would be comprised of half of it or a quarter of it would be owned and held by the house itself, and then the rest would be maybe rented out to serfs. There's a whole article on that I've been using to role play that. And then so some of these areas, and so these households are belonging to those serfs that do rent out the land to farm the land. Let's just go back. I got a black and white version too. I added a brief description on what a domain is in nobility terms to help roleplay. Description of the outer yard, the hay barn, vegetable gardens, a shed, just a lot of details like a pig pen. And the reeve is Duncan Temby. He's a senior tenant officer of the manor. So I have it all pretty much described out here. So this is something I created as part of my Greyhawk world to run my campaign, and I feel that when the players go here, it's significantly detailed enough to be able to roleplay the location, especially when they're employment of a noble like Lady Asbury. So I hope you enjoy this. If you want the stuff that I put together, you're welcome to get it on my Patreon below. It's available for free. It's fan content. And of course, if you have any suggestions or comments, please don't hesitate to list them below, and I'll look at them and respond. I hope all your upcoming games are fun and friendly and deadly, and just like what old school D&D should be. Thank you for watching.